All right, shall we go ahead and get started? So, all right, we'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge of Allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
So let's move on to public comment from anybody, but I don't see anyone, so here we are. It's a quiet public comment. So we'll jump right into the presentation for social studies.
Okay.
Is that?
Yep.
Do you want me to?
Do you want me to project it or?
I mean, I think we can get to
it. Slide. Yeah, okay. I'll slide back to it and then you can go ahead. Yeah. Like, I won't get used to it. So we had talked a little bit about social studies. You guys had some questions, and Alex just asked if I could put something quickly together for the meeting today so that you can learn about our social studies curriculum here at Barnard. I just wanted to give you some background that there are no national content standards for social studies. We do have, at the state level, we don't have an assessment, which is what sparked this. We don't have a state assessment for social studies. In high school, they do have to take the U.S. citizenship test. I think that's junior year. That's the junior, yes, okay, junior year. And so their standards were last revised in 2006. They haven't been updated since then, but they serve as guidance to school districts for social studies instruction. We really follow the National College Career and Civics Life Framework that outlines only the skill standards and that leaves the state to design their own content standards. So in July of 20, well, these are the C3 framework, the College Career and Civic Life Framework, really consists, the purpose of it is to prepare students to be active and informed citizens, and it encourages critical thinking and problem solving. And there's really 4 dimensions to this framework. It's have students developing questions and planning inquiries and applying disciplinary tools under the concepts of civics, economics, geography, and history. And also it includes evaluating resources and using evidence to support your inquiry and what your research they're finding out. And then encourages students to communicate the conclusion and take informed action. The content, like I said, is flexible based on the state and local standards. So in July of 2022, all of our K-8 staff that teaches social studies met in the summer to unpack all the C3 framework and to look at the standards that are suggested by the state of New Hampshire. And then collaboratively, we created a school-wide scope and sequence. And our goal for that was just to ensure alignment, consistency, clarity, instruction. And so the content, we took the framework and the New Hampshire suggested standards. And this is the content area that's covered. Because we're multi-age classroom, a kindergartner might get something kindergarten year, and then it might get the first grade content in kindergarten year as well, because we just alternate each year. So the content in K1, we cover classroom citizenship, connections among people, shared traditions, and work in commerce, sort of like the economics at that level. Community elections and leadership, talk about who leaders are, in the school, in the community. They explore maps, and then kind of unity and diversity in the U.S. history, really look at the leaders of the country, ones that they can, that they understand. And then we kind of look at needs and wants at that level, like what is something you need, what is something you want, and American symbols. And then in grade 2-3, they go a little bit further with reading maps and making maps. They talk about migration of cultures. Um, they talk about continents and countries and what the similarities and differences are. And they look at resources and choices for economics, kind of that needs and wants a little bit further. They do the geography of Native people. They start to explore early European exploration and early colonization. Last year they went to Plymouth Plantation for a field trip, and then they do early colonization and growth. It covers history, civics, and economics. And then in grade 4-5, really the big ideas change from, they're alternating, are New Hampshire history and development. They focus on all of these parts of American history and development. And then the alternating year, they start going into North America, past and present, looking at the mapping of North America, ancient cities of North America, US geography, the expansion of the United States over time. And then when we get into middle school, you might get 6th grade content in 8th grade, or you might get, because we combine the classes. But the 6th grade, the complexity changes based on what grade level they're at. But the big idea is understanding complex societies across time, past and present. So covers physical geography, modern nations, ancient classical societies, and then really studying the human origins, Middle East and North Africa, Central America, Caribbean. And then in 7th grade, the big idea is exploring the connections between geography, societies, and nations over time. So they look at the physical geography, modern nations, ancient classical societies, and then they really focus on Asia. And then in 8th grade, the big idea is understanding the evolution of the United States democracy and the role of citizens sustaining it. And their key topics are, just studying the political system, the development of government, rights and responsibilities of citizens, the Constitution, amendments, or freedom of press. And so that's the content standards, but just remember that it's all sort of incorporated with the C3 standards. So it is like inquiry-based, where students are exploring topics through research, asking questions, and it's all under geography, history, civics, and economics. And then connecting that to the real world, trying to apply that to what they learn to basically in the world.
Do you feel happy with what you have? Like satisfied as far as the curriculum or what's the standards that are there? Do you feel like it's doing the job that?
I think we did a really nice job at laying out the content to cover the area. Could we spend more time on it? Probably. I mean, we have to give and take something, so we have so much to teach of everything. We have the social studies is often incorporated into our ELA curriculum because a lot of like the inquiry, research, and writing it is done is part of ELA, so it's kind of incorporated to that. They do a lot of reading during reading time about these topics.
Sure.
So we do infuse it in everything else that we're doing.
Okay.
If we had a couple extra hours in the school day, we'd probably do better. But
yeah.
I think that's with every.
Okay.
And so we just did this in 2022, so it's still new to teachers that were. So
okay.
I think it'll get better.
I saw a shift in England's later. I felt like there was more focus on, whereas when she became a little bit less, but then I did see a shift. So it must have been
So it's our second year of doing that.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, no, and I just brought it up because you had mentioned that what spurred it was that there were no state standards that there were for English language arts and then for math.
Nice.
And then you had seen the I forget what the study was called, but where they mentioned that certain, I guess it was like the evaluation of the students, right? And they had like a pair, right? Is that what it was?
Yep.
Yeah. And critical thinking was one of the things where they felt the weakest in, and I guess I kind of see social studies as an important building block of that. The more you have it, the more you're able to think critically, evaluate, and all that. So
yeah, and that's why it's like a less emphasis on the specific content and more on the students doing the inquiry, research, and solving problems.
Okay. All right. Great.
Any
Thank you.
questions?
Yeah,
Yeah.
thank
Okay,
you.
no problem.
Okay. To the consideration of minutes for December 5th, 2024.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes from the December 5th, 2024 regular meeting.
I'll second that motion.
Unanimous.
All right. So let's move on to reports. And Meredith, we can start with your report.
Sure. So we are just confirmed a legislative meeting from 6 to 8 p.m. on Tuesday, January 21st, with our local legislators to talk about proposed legislation for the upcoming session in New Hampshire. The School Board Association just did a presentation in December about kind of what to expect for the upcoming legislative session. So there is some more information forthcoming on that. Operations is scheduled for January 22nd. Committee, and that will set the agenda for the next joint board meeting scheduled for January 30th. It's a busy month. Calendars are going to fill up fast. Policy is scheduled to meet, that date wrong, January 22nd.
27th, I think.
27th. Yeah. I told you the calendar is so full. I'm going to lose track.
Communications committee.
Communications committee is meeting next Tuesday at 5:30. And then the other piece I wanted to point out is that the filing dates for school district positions begin Wednesday, January 22nd through Friday, January 31st. So here in Southampton, you have one 3-year school board seat open, position currently filled by Lauren. And we also will be looking for a school district clerk for the 3-year term. Not positive where we stand with our moderator and treasurer. We usually update that right after the first of the year, but your meeting happened so quick that I don't have that finalized yet, but I will share that out as soon. Did you just appoint last year? It was open last year. I just don't know it.
Did we appoint Kim?
Well, they're supposed to,
She got appointed for the.
for this year. Yeah, on, I think either,
She's a moderator, I think. 'Cause I
Correct.
think you and I reached out to you about that.
yeah, you reached out, and
But I
you
think
do you have her number and email, is that right?
Yeah.
For the year.
Oh, for
right?
last year.
So she's got to be appointed. So someone has to fill the 3-year term. It's
Right.
typically a 10 years.
Right, okay,
So that seat is open again, as is your clerk.
yeah, okay.
I believe you're all set with treasurer. That was open last
I believe so.
So my question went to my
year. So Becky is the school district clerk. So you would call her here at the school, make an appointment, and submit paperwork. Those were my highlights, and then I know Dr. Toomey has some info to share as well.
Sure, thank you. Happy New Year, everybody. Good
Thank
to
you.
see you. Some student support policy updates. You'll be seeing these in detail. One I think you saw already, but just wanted to give you some highlights because they're important. Policy JLF is about reporting child abuse and neglect. And in the update, it's strengthening the accountability for our educators to make these reports when there is a suspicion of abuse and neglect. And also in the new updates, it prohibits educators from making anonymous reports. So that's a change. And they want to be sure that we're including this information in the student handbook or placed on the district's website, which I think we already do, and to have a sign posted that's readily visible to students that has instructions on how to report child abuse or neglect. So that's that one. Policy JFAB-E is education of children in foster care. One big change there is that the district will lead the process for a best interest determination meeting discussion with DCYF and not the other way around. We've been letting DCYF take the lead, but we, know the children, and so we would take the lead in that process. And we're also updating our transportation agreement with DCYF for kids that are in foster care. And then the last one is JFAB-D, education of youth experiencing homelessness. The big change here is that the duties of the liaison need to be posted both in public places around the school and in the job description, which the job description is the listed duties. We made a one-pager that's also pasted here and in blue at the bottom of your report. If you want to take a look at it, if the principals, print it 8.5 by 11, it's going to be very small to read, but we'll have that available to people who want to see the job description and all of the duties that our liaisons do across the SAU. There has to be evidence of coordination and community collaboration. Our liaisons reach out to the community and lots of resources. I learned today that one of the resources, there's a growing trend of grandparents who are raising grandchildren, not just, doubled up and living together, but actually having the responsibility, financial and otherwise, to raise grandchildren for a number of reasons when the parent can't be available. And one of our liaisons was able to put together this grandparent with an agency that provided funding for a heating bill and also a gift card for some Christmas presents. So it's a nice thing. So, it's not just about what we do here in school, which is a lot, but it's about getting the agencies together. We want to update our district policy to include privacy around the living situation so that we're never revealing whether kids are either doubled up in motels and campgrounds. We won't report on that data. We won't say, this percentage is in campground, this percentage is in hotel. We won't be reporting on that data anymore like that. And then that community awareness listing where the homeless identification materials are posted in the community liaisons do a nice job of that. The liaison for your district is Annalise Dunn, our district-wide social worker, and Patrice Baker, our outreach specialist. They tend to work in tandem, and they each have different areas of focus that they work on, and they do a nice job. Any questions before I move on about those three policies? You've seen the one about homelessness already. I believe that one's been updated, and the other two I think are coming in January. Then I wanted to just tell you what a great job everyone is doing with our Cook Center partnership. We launched in 2023. I bring this to you periodically just so we can get the word out. People are aware, our families, our staff, that we have free, no-cost weekly coaching available for families to get great parenting advice with a personal coach, one-on-one. It's virtual, it's over Zoom, but you also have access to this coach via text, via telephone. And since we started, 36 families have participated in the weekly coaching, and currently 33 of those families continue to be registered. And so it's really encouraging that that's happening. I didn't bring the breakout by district, but I want you to know that Southampton is doing a fabulous job of getting the word out about this and continuing to have those services available. There's a great January newsletter, English and Spanish is posted there for you to take a look at. Their newsletters are getting better and better. They're offering great suggestions just in the newsletter. There's lots of free resources on the website at parentguidance.org, videos and other articles to read and advice. But the coaching, which is the piece that we're paying for through a grant that we received from Youth Well New Hampshire, is what is really tremendous. So I just wanted to do another plug for that and say great job for everybody and for those families that are taking full advantage of it.
Okay. Well, thank you very much. All right, let's move on now to Michelle's report. Yeah.
So we're starting off the new year doing some progress monitoring or mid-year progress monitoring. This is the time we do these assessments, determine student needs, we check the benchmarks, see where they're at, make sure that everybody's progressing the way they should be. We will be starting our spelling bee. They already actually did their first round of spelling bee at the end of December, and we will have our finals for the spelling bee on January 22nd at 12:30 in the gym. So around, you want to come? We'd love to have you. And for professional development, we have Kathleen McCaffrey. She's from the New Hampshire Department of Education, who will be here on the 17th, working with teachers on vocabulary instruction and instruction. And in the month of January, all of our staff has been trained, they're certified in Atlas training, but they were going to receive, that was through the online version, and now they will be working with the Southampton Police Department and Amesbury Police Department to be doing some training, live in-person training here through January as well. Really proud of our student council who did a toy drive and a winter coat drive through the month of December. We filled 2 big cars full of toys that were brought to fire department to be distributed, and lots of goods. So good job for them. And we're continuing with our all-school meetings, monthly all-school meetings. Our focus this year is on physical and mental wellness. This past month, we focused on the importance of physical activity for your mental wellness and health, and yoga at the school. And Mrs. Johnson continues to do yoga off and on through her SEL program with all students of all grade levels.
Great.
Questions?
No, thank you. All right, let's move on to the finance report.
Good evening. So we've included both the expenditure and revenue reports per usual this month. Really, no changes from last month, particularly with the 2 weeks holiday. As you know, we're tracking well. We had some savings from an unfilled EA position, and of the a few expenses not to be mentioned about anything about this winter. And but otherwise we are tracking well. If there's anything that comes up as we proceed through the school year that's unanticipated, we will let you know. Any questions?
No, I don't think that's good.
We are looking forward to our budget public hearing with the budget committee next week. That is scheduled for
Wednesday the 8th, I think at 7.
Yep, exactly.
No, is that here or is that over there?
That'll be here.
That'll be here.
Yep.
Okay.
So the budget committee will meet with us. We'll go through the PowerPoint. They'll ask their questions, and then they'll vote budget.
Yep.
At which point it'll go to the deliberative session in February for the community to provide their input. Once the community is completed with our budget, it'll go to ballot second Tuesday of March. So.
Yeah. Okay. All right, great. Thank you. So continuing business, we don't have any. All right, so let's move on to new business, the Southampton Winnicott High School tuition agreement.
Yeah, so I would suggest that we talk about that in non-public. If there are any questions, we can address that, and then we can come out and vote on that if the board is ready to do so.
Okay.
We can do the next item.
All right, so the first read, a policy for chemical safety and chemical hygiene plan.
Yes, so this is newly required. This was put into effect through legislation this past legislative session. This has not yet been to the policy committee. We're trying to expedite it because you are going through your facility review process with the state. And so this policy, even though it's newly enacted, is required by the state. So we are trying to kind of move that forward quickly. Essentially, it requires that staff. Essentially, it spells out that staff can't bring in chemicals from their home to clean the school. Right, everything that we use here has to have been vetted and approved and meet particular specifications to make sure that it's safe and not toxic and labeled appropriately. So that is the gist of this. It's on as a first read. If the board is inclined to waive its policy and adopt it, given the time frame, we would welcome that. If you're not, bring it back for February.
I think so. I mean, does it add any costs or anything like that? Not really,
No.
right? It doesn't really affect anything.
No, I mean it's good practice,
Right.
and now it has to be
Okay.
that's what we're doing anyway. Exactly.
Okay. All right. Yeah, I'm happy to
Yeah.
to go ahead and take a vote on that.
So I think you could do sort of one motion to accept, to waive your policy on policy adoption and accept policy EBCH, chemical safety and hygiene.
Okay.
Rhonda's trying to keep up with
Yeah.
that, I think.
Right, yeah, no, I'm trying to,
Yes.
what should I read? I mean,
No, so
Rhonda's
make
gonna
a-
type it up and then,
make a motion to waive the policy on
It's
Policy
policy BG.
adoption and
I was afraid to open that without
to
sifting out of which one this was, but I can do that quickly,
policy EBCH
as presented.
as presented.
Okay.
okay, I'll second that motion.
Very fluid.
Yeah, thank you for facing that, too, 'cause I wasn't really sure we were
Making that up on the fly.
Yeah.
gonna.
Yeah, the vote was.
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah.
No,
And for reference, that's policy BGAA, policy adoption.
okay. All right, so let's cover just, well, next meeting dates, we've talked about some of those, but, we have the operations committee meeting, Wednesday, January 22nd. Then the joint board policy committee meeting, Monday, January 27th. Joint board meeting on the 30th.
And then the other two that weren't on there before you moved to February were the communications committee meeting next Tuesday and the legislative meeting on the 21st.
Okay, and where's the,
Those will both be at Winnicott.
Winnicott, okay.
I'm on the communications.
Yeah, okay. All right, so now let's move on into non-public. So let's move, yeah,
Motion to go in under item K, or letter K, or SA 91A. Okay.
Make a motion to roll call to enter into non-public session under